What's poppin'? Welcome back to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. Today, full card predictions for UFC 304 in Manchester. Got a rematch between Leon Edwards versus Belal Muhammed, breaking down things from a prediction standpoint and, of course, from a betting perspective. So yeah, make sure to like, comment, sub, keep this channel growing, keep me motivated. The more this channel grows, the more content I can produce for you guys. So yeah, it's all going to be beneficial back to you guys. So, of course, make sure you guys have a bankroll. Hopefully this is on the screen properly. Make sure you guys have a bankroll. Manage your risk correctly. Have a good staking strategy. Manage your risk very, very correctly. Marathon and grinding mindset. Try not to hit home runs. Try and grind up your money over time, and keep an eye for potential line movements and maybe your thoughts change throughout the week on certain matchups. So yeah, enough of the boring stuff. Actually, it's not boring. It's actually very, very important. It's actually probably more important than picking the fights correctly, because you could be picking fights at like a 90% clip. Actually, that's a bit of exaggeration, but maybe you could pick in fights at like 55, 60% on your bets. But if you're not managing your risk correctly, selecting the right numbers, you're probably going to end up losing money long term. So yeah, very, very important. A lot of people out there gamble. There's only a very, very small amount of people that actually make a profit long term, right? So I think the stats, something crazy, like only 1% of bettors actually win long term. And then out of that 1%, like how many of them have multiple accounts? So you got to think about stuff like that, right? So yeah, and it's easy for people to come in here, show their picks, predictions, but can they grind money out from the betting markets long term? That's the hard bit. So anyways, without further ado, let's get right into the breakdowns. So first fight of the night we have here, we got Modestas Bukauskas versus Marcin Prachnio. So Modestas, he's a striker. He likes to fight at range and utilize his kicks and his length and look to kind of like outpoint his opponents. He's not really like a guy who likes to take a lot of like risks in his fights. I mean, he can look quite weak when taken down and when he's on his back, but I don't really see Prachnio really going for takedowns in this fight. I think it's mainly going to be a striking fight. And another thing with Bukauskas is I don't really trust his chin. So when we go to Prachnio, he's a high volume, high activity type of pressure fighter. He looks to like overwhelm his opponents with like constant activity, which makes up for like his lack of athleticism and technical skill. Like, no disrespect. So I mean, this is a close fight. I'm not mega confident here, but I'm going to pick Bukauskas here. I think he edges out a close competitive decision, but at the same time, I don't think Prachnio's a bad underdog. But because the fight's in England, I don't really trust either guy too much. I just see Bukauskas like just edging out a close decision. But from a betting perspective, let's look at the line. So Bukauskas, wow, so money's been coming in on Bukauskas. Bukauskas like 1.59. I'm not really surprised. Like, I thought Bukauskas would be quite a popular bet this week. Maybe if the odds go really, really crazy on Prachnio, maybe get closer to the opener, then he might be worth something small. But I'm going to pick Bukauskas to grind out a competitive decision. But yeah. Next fight we have here, we got a short notice fight that was recently made. We got Shauna Bannon versus Alice Ardelean. Sorry, probably butchering that. So, who should we start off with? Now we'll start off with Bannon. So Bannon, one thing I've noticed, like, I think she's a fighter who, going off topic here with the skills, etc., but I think she's a fighter who likes attention a lot. She likes being in the camera, and I think she likes the attention that the fighting can bring to her brand and Instagram, etc. She's a southpaw striker. She's got a taekwondo background. She's predominantly like a kick-based style of striker. She likes to use like side kicks, roundhouse kicks. And one thing that stands out to me, that she's been facing low-level girls, right? Apart from Brazil, took a step up in comp, lost quite dominantly against Bruna, Brazil, but apart from that, she's been facing low-level girls. Now, Alice, on the other hand, she's another social media girl. You know, she's quite big on TikTok. She's got like 3 million followers, and she does like should we just say, special content on a adult website that people can pay a subscription for. And when it comes to her fighting style, though, she's like a striker. She has a style where she kind of looks to like explode and throw like slightly heavy. I'm not saying she looks like knockout shots every time, but she throws a little bit heavier. She's mainly got like a boxing style. She's not like terrible. She's not been awful, but again, it's kind of hard to gauge her true level because she's been facing low-level girls. Apart from, I can't believe it, but she fought Weili Zhang back in 2016. And obviously, Zhang dominated her, but apart from that, she's just been facing really, really low-level girls. I mean, this is another fairly tricky fight to predict. Like, it's hard to be really, really confident. But I'm going to pick Bannon here. I think she's had her first fight in the UFC. I think she's more bedding into the promotion a bit more. This fight's in England. I think she's a little bit more like, physically bigger. And I think physicality plays a big factor in a lot of women's MMA fights. So I am going to pick Bannon here. But like, let's look at things from a betting perspective. So Bannon is around 1.49. So steep price to pay. Personally, not going to be touching that one. Imagine this one goes over, but imagine over is going to be quite heavily priced, 1.38. So yeah, I'm going to pick Bannon here to win a decision in England. But from a betting perspective, not really one that intrigues me at this current time. So next fight we have here, we got Sam Patterson versus Kiefer Crosbie. Now, who should we start off with? We'll start off with Sam. So Sam, he's a very, very tall, upright striker. And he definitely has tall man defense. He's a striker who likes to like keep his range. And, you know, he has like decent lateral footwork and movement. He's actually, this fight's at welterweight, but he was actually fighting out down at 155. But I think because he was getting clipped at lightweight, he was thinking, yeah, I need to move up a weight class. But I think it's more a situation where it's because he just like leaves his chin up there really, really upright that he's getting clipped. He's also like a decent grappler as well. And he's like a grappler who like, he looks like submissions instead of like ground control. Now, Crosbie on the other hand, he's swinging, boxer, and he's been facing low-level guys. Like, if we just look at his record, he's been facing low-level guys. Fights out the same gym as Conor McGregor, SBG Ireland, right? And look at the guys he's been facing the record. Apart from Juicet's solid, right? But Alex Oliveira out of prime. This guy, 16-12 record, losing fights against 16-11 guys in Bellator. So, yeah, just something to keep in mind. What else should I mention? I mean, I don't really trust his cardio either. To fight hard for 3 rounds. I think he's going to come forwards. He's going to swing really go for it. So, prediction standpoint, you know, Sam Patterson could get clipped. I think that's a possibility. But I much prefer to side with Sam Patterson because I think he is the better fighter. I think he has more tools. I think he has more versatility when it comes to striking. And I think he has more grappling upside. So I'm going to have to pick him. So let's look at the betting line. So a steep price here, 1.29. Kiefer Crosbie coming at a 3.85. You know, there's a possibility that, you know, Sam could get clipped here, but the reason why this line is really, really wide is because Sam is the better overall fighter. He is the more skilled fighter. So I'm going to have to ride with Sam Patterson in this fight. But from a betting perspective, 1.29, not one that really I can get super duper passionate and excited about possibly betting. So next fight we have here, we got Oban Elliott versus Preston Parsons. So who should we start off with? We'll start off with Parsons. So Parsons, he's got like a wrestling style. You know, he's got good wrestling skills. On the feet, he looks to like use like a volume approach, and you know, he looks to kind of pressure his opponents. And because he lacks in like pure like athleticism and like talent. Like, I don't want to be too harsh here. He tries to make up with it by like being a constant pressure fighter, putting a pace, and just constantly grinding on his opponents. Now, Elliott, on the other hand, you know, he's a good striker, especially early. You know, when the fight's early on, we're talking round 1, early round 2, he has like fast, sharp, crispy, and his grappling entries look really, really good as well. But as mentioned, I have noticed that he does seem to fatigue. So, prediction standpoint, you know, I think this fight could play out quite competitive early. I think Oban and Elliott might actually get the better of the early exchanges in a fight. But the further the fight progresses, it's going to favour Parsons, in my opinion. So I am going to pick Preston Parsons here, because I think he is going to give Elliott a uncomfortable fight. I don't think Parsons is going to make it like a really, really pretty, clean fight on the outside, go back and forth. I think he's going to give a uncomfortable fight for Elliott, which I think suits Parsons more. So I'm going to pick Parsons here. Low to medium level confidence. Of course, I think this fight could play out quite competitive optically, and Parsons is more of a grappler here. So if Elliott is able to, you know, perhaps defend some of the takedowns, land the harder shots on the feet, you know, with how they score fights now, they seem to really heavily favour the striking. But I'm going to go with my gut here, and I'm going to pick Parsons here. So let's look at a betting line. So 1.68 for Parsons, and Oban Elliott is 2.27. So it's quite a close competitive line. Open a pick'em, and the money came straight in on Parsons. At pick'em, I probably would have risked it a bit myself. So yeah, I do agree with Parsons being a slight better favourite, and I think I'd rather be on the Parsons side personally if I do target this fight from a betting perspective. So yeah, can't go around betting every single fight. You know, you've got to pick your spots carefully, but yeah, I'm going to pick Parsons here to get the job done. So, next fight we have here, we got Mick Parkin, versus Łukasz Brzeski. So, who should we start off with? I've been saying that a lot on this video. So we'll start off with Parkin. So Parkin, he's like a slow, plodding, heavyweight striker. He mainly has like a boxing attack, and he does have like a low kick attack as well. Like, obviously he's like a heavyweight. He doesn't have like a lot of like one punch power. So he is a guy who looks like overwhelm his opponents with pace, pressure, and just land constant volume. So Brzeski, on the other hand, he's a heavyweight boxer as well. And I mean, both these guys, athleticism wise, I think they match up quite well. They're not both the most athletically gifted fighters. I think early on, I think this is a close fight. I think it's a well-matched fight in my opinion. But as the fight progresses, I think Parkin is going to edge this fight. And I favour him as the fight progresses. And this fight's in England, so if the crowd's there, I imagine he's more likely going to get a decision in a close fight. And I just prefer to be, from a picks standpoint, I much prefer to be on the Parkin side. But yeah, I think this fight will be one on small margins. So let's look at the betting line. I think some money's been coming in on Parkin. Let's see. So Parkin, okay, wow. So Parkin's down to 1.37. 1.5, I was maybe considering a little small play myself, but yeah, 1.37. I can see why the market's coming in on Parkin. I think he is the more likely winner in this matchup. And I imagine the over is going to be favoured. Yeah, over 2.5 rounds is around 1.56. So the bet market and the bookies do think that this fight goes to a decision, which I agree with. So yeah, I'm going to pick Parkin here to grind out a decision. So next fight we have here, we got a sick fight that was just recently made. We got Caolan Loughran versus Jake Hadley. Jake Hadley is taking this fight on short notice. Of course, he lives in England, so it's probably like an hour drive for him. Now, when we go to Loughran, I like Loughran, you know. He's a stocky, aggressive, pressure, high volume boxing striker, and he has like good speed and skills, and he's a solid defensive grappler as well. He has good timing, speed for his entries, and he even took down Taylor Lapilus a couple times, which is a guy who's predominantly got very, very good takedown defense and can be quite hard to hold down. So yeah, I'm impressed with what I'm seeing with Loughran. Obviously, you know, he's still young in his career, he's got more to show, and bantamweight is just a very, very tricky division just because of how skilled the guys are. Now when we go to Jake Hadley, he's normally a flyweight, right? So keep that in mind, but he's a massive, massive flyweight. So I don't think him fighting at 135 is really that big of a deal, personally. Maybe it could be. I think he might be the bigger guy in there because, yeah, this is, to me, Hadley's a guy, he's a 125er who fights at 135, really. Sorry, he's a 135er that fights at 125. Got those mixed up. But yeah, when it comes to style, southpaw, he's a bully fighter, so he likes to be the one coming forwards. He likes to be the one who pushes the pace, and he likes to like bully his opponents. And when it comes to shot selections, boxing, throw some kicks too, and he looks to throw like heavier with his strikes. And he's got like a very, very like unique like elbow block, and like he's not terrible on the back foot, but he definitely, like as mentioned, he's a bully fighter. He wants to be the one pushing forwards, coming forwards. And so does Loughran as well. So I think these two are going to clash. When we go to Hadley, like he's a decent offensive grappler, but he does look weak off his back if he is taken down. He kind of look like a fish off his back, I'd say. And he often tries to look for like submissions off his back, etc. So yeah, well matched fight in my opinion. I'm going to go with Loughran here. I just have a gut feeling about Loughran. I think he has more upside and more potential. There's more advantages for him. I imagine Jake Hadley is ready to fight. He's probably a guy who's in the gym all the time, but it is short notice for him. So, and I just have this feeling about Loughran that he could turn out to be quite decent inside the division. So I am going to pick him. Let's look at the betting line. So money's been coming in on Loughran. He opened 1.77, went down to 1.38, and he's around 1.45. So to me, how I'm feeling, my gut says that's a bit of a steep line. Like I think this is a well-matched fight. I think it could play out quite competitive at times. I don't think Jake Hadley is a complete pushover, but I do edge Caolan Loughran to grind out a win. So I probably have this more maybe 1.54, 1.6 if I was capping this fight. But yeah, I'm going to pick Loughran here to get the job done. But I think that's one of the better fights on the card. I'm looking forward to it. So next fight we have here, we got Molly Meatball McCann versus Bruna Brasil. So Molly McCann, fan favourite, especially in England. She's going to get a big buzz from the crowd. When we go to her skills, she's like not like the most like athletically like gifted fighter and the most talented, but she makes up with it by pushing a high pace, being aggressive, and throwing a boxing style of attack. I say she's like a good boxer, especially for like women's MMA standards. Like she's an okay grappler, offensive one, especially against like lower level competition of girls. But I don't really trust her defensive grappling aspect, especially she's been exposed by high level girls and more physically imposing girls, right? Like Tyler Santos and Julia Starolenko subbed to Erin Blanchfield. Obviously, Erin Blanchfield's a nightmare to deal with, and so is Tyler Santos, but she can definitely get exposed by high level girls. But I do think this is mainly going to be a striking fight. I think if anyone has any wrestling upside, it's probably going to be Molly McCann. So when we go to Bruna Brasil, she's just got a Muay Thai / kickboxing style of striker, and I don't think she's a fighter who really likes pressure. So I am going to pick Molly McCann here. I think she is the more likely winner in this matchup. I think she can get a pressure going and win a decision, most likely. She can maybe mix up some grappling, but yeah, I'm going to go with Molly McCann here. So let's look at the betting line. So Molly McCann, 1.29. I mean, that's a steep price to pay. Like, what's break even around 1.29? That's around. Sorry if my maths is off, but maybe like 70 to 80%. I think that's a steep line, you know. I do think she is the more likely a winner, especially in England, fan favourite. I think she's probably going to have the better optics coming forwards, pressuring. So I am going to have to pick her, but I don't know. I don't really trust to put Molly McCann into a parlay personally at this kind of price. So yeah, give me Molly McCann in that fight. So next fight we have here, we got Nathaniel Wood versus Daniel Pineda. So, I mean, I like both fighters. I think both fighters are very, very exciting, bring a good style. I think it could potentially be a banger of a fight. So I'll start off with Wood. He's got very, very solid skills. Good striker, good grappler, pushes a good pace, good speed, but he is a bit chinny. Like, I don't trust his durability 100%. Now, in this matchup, I think Wood is just, he's just going to be the younger fighter, right? Pineda's almost 39. He's going to have like a 8-year advantage. I think he's going to be faster. I think he's going to be sharper. I think he is a cleaner fighter. I just think he is just the all-round better fighter at this stage of his career, and the fights in England. And Wood has a little bit of a name in England, so, but I am worried about the chin. I think there could be a possibility that Pineda clips Wood, especially early, while he's the freshest and the most explosive. But I am going to have to go with the safer pick here and pick Nathaniel Wood. From a betting perspective, Wood is a massive, massive favourite. I think he's going to be a very, very popular parlay piece. 1.24. Yeah, I mean, you got to have him as a favourite, but it does seem a little steep considering his like chin concerns. But overall, I think he is the more likely out winner in this fight. And he's got a lot of advantages, right? Speed, youth, etc. So yeah, I'm going to pick Wood there in this matchup. So next fight we have here, this is probably the fight I'm most looking forward to. We got Manuel Cape versus Muhammed Mukayev. This is a really, really good fight. Very intriguing matchup. I like Cape's low-key one of my favourite fighters, but of course I'm not going to let that cloud my judgment. Cape, very, very talented, explosive, powerful striker, great striking fundamentals, great speed, great skill. Mainly throws like a boxing attack like most MMA fighters do, but he can throw a wide range of attacks like flying knees, it kicks, and it's very, very explosive and fast. So yeah, he's very, very effective counter striker too. Has iron chin, has an iron toughness, and UFC thought very, very highly of him, right? He had on his debut fight in Pantoja, so that shows you how much UFC rates this guy. Now, when we go to Mukayev, actually, I think Cape is a potential contender to title challenger. That's how much I rate Capes. Now, Mukayev, very, very fast, agile fighter, mainly got like a wrestling, grappling style. You consistently shoot, and he looks like grab a hold of you by any means. He's like Dagestani, so he's got like that Dagestani grappling style, but he lives in England and trains out of England. And his amateur records in insane ways. Like last time I checked, he was like 23-0, so he's got a lot of experience for his age. Very, very talented fighter. Now, this to me is a pretty tricky fight to predict. Like, I think Cape is the more talented fighter. Normally, I want to be on the Cape side, but I think this matchup might be trickier for Cape because his defensive grappling has looked weak in the past. Like, if he is taken down, he does look weak off his back. And Mukayev, he's just going to consistently shoot. I know his performance against Alex Perez, it wasn't a good look, but I think he was ill in that fight. And he's just going to consistently shoot. Like against Charles Johnson, got like 8 takedowns. So I am going to have a slight lean towards Mukayev here. But yeah, I don't really like picking against Cape, I'm going to be honest. But yeah, I think stylistically, this could potentially be a good matchup for Mukaev because of the wrestling and the grappling. But obviously, like, if it's a 15-minute striking fight, then I have to favour Cape. But I think Mukaev, he is going to relentlessly shoot takedowns. And he's very, very young, right? He's like 23. So, fighters at that age, they're very much, especially someone as talented as him, they're very much prone to making improvements camp to camp. So yeah, I'm going to pick Mukaev there, but low confidence. I hate picking against Cape, if I'm honest. Let's look at the betting line. So money's been coming in on Mukaev, 1.72 now. He was picking a week ago, but so the market kind of agrees with what I'm saying, but there's enough respect on the Cape side that where I don't think this line will go too crazy. I think it's maybe a little bit more money comes in on Mukaev. He closes around 1.65, possibly 1.6. But if it goes too far to the other end, let's say for argument's sake, Cape goes to like 3.0 plus 200, which I don't think is going to happen. But if it did, then obviously even I would have to be forced to jump in on Cape just based on value. But yeah, I'm going to pick Mukaev to win that fight. But really looking forward to that fight. That's the one I'm most looking forward to. So, next fight we have here, we got Arnold Allen versus Giga Chikadze. So, another high-level fight this. Another great fight. So, Giga, who should we start off with? I'll start off with Giga. So, Giga, he's a powerful, he's a precise striker with a strong kickboxing style and background. He mainly uses a kick-based style of striking, so he prefers to be a kicker. Obviously, he does have some decent hands, so he can throw with some power. He's very technical when it comes to his kicks, powerful kicking game, and yeah, he likes to stay at range. So Allen, obviously he's lost his last two fights, but Max Holloway, talking about one of the goats. I'm talking Mozvar Evloev, a relentless wrestler. So I don't really hold those losses too much against him. I think he's a very talented, solid fighter who I've been high on for years. And he's a southpaw boxer with like a bouncing footwork style. And he's a well-rounded fighter, technical boxing, solid grappling skills, uses high volume, likes to pressure his opponents and mix in takedowns to control the fight. Now, one thing that kind of did concern me with the Giga side is that this fight 10 months ago, he looked a little bit off. It took him a round or two to really kind of go into the fight. I think he was suffering from not octagon jitters, but ring rust. That's the word I was looking for. Ring rust. Yeah, obviously had a very tough fight against Calvin Cater. Like, that was a brutal war. So yeah, he's not been the most active. He is almost 36. I think he's very solid kickboxer. I do like Giga, but I'm gonna go with Allen. I think he's gonna grind out a win in a well-matched fight. Let's look at a betting line. So Allen, I know Allen's a big favourite, 1.42. You know what? I agree more with the opener. I agree with 1.57 more. So like 60-40, I think 1.57 is. I think this line's a little bit steep, 1.42. But I do think he's a more likely winner. Personally, I don't really want to bet against Giga at odds of 1.42. I don't really feel like I'm getting much of a margin or much value in his odds against a technical, world-class kickboxer. So yeah, I'm going to pick Allen there to grind out a win. So next fight we have here, we got CLD versus Gregory Rodriguez, aka Robocop. What a nickname, huh? Robocop. So now let's start off with CLD. So CLD, he's a solid kickboxer. He's a wide range of diversity and a wide range of tools when it comes to striking, including punches, kicks, knees, elbows. That makes him a very, very unpredictable opponent. And that makes him also a very, very creative striker. He's fast, he's agile, which allows him to kind of evade strikes and counter effectively. RoboCop, on the other hand, he's an explosive, powerful striker who is also a high-level BJJ black belt, but he has a bad chin. That's the only real flaw with him. He's when it comes to striking, explosive, powerful, aggressive, boxing style striker, good skills, very good takedown wrestling entries, and of course, as mentioned, a high-level BJJ black belt, so he can wrap up submissions. I mean, overall, I really, really like RoboCop skills. I do like CLD skills as well. It's just the chin with RoboCop concerns me. Like that fight against Jordan Williams, like that will always stand out to me, getting chins by a welterweight fighting at middleweight. But yeah, if you put the chin outside, obviously chins are quite funny in MMA. Like in one fight, they look like a glass chin, and the next fight, the chin is rock solid, like against Chidi and Njokuani. Like some of the punches he was taking were brutal. I mean, he got knocked out by Bruno Ferreira, but Bruno Ferreira is a very, very explosive, fast, agile, explosive striker. So, you know, anyone could get clipped by Bruno Ferreira. I'm not sure if CLD has that kind of knockout potential on RoboCop, but obviously I could say that, and then first punch while they're cold gets caught. If it wasn't for the chin, I'd definitely be more confident in RoboCop, but I'm going to pick RoboCop here, low confidence. I like his explosiveness. I like how he's powerful. I like how he has the potential grappling advantage and wrestling advantage. I say potential because he could just stand and bang with CLD. Like he loves his hands. So, and he's also faced the higher level competition. So I am going to pick RoboCop here to win this fight. I think he might be the underdog last time I checked. So yeah, 2.15, slight underdog. I see it, you know, I think money's been coming in on CLD. You know, CLD is very 2.6 though. That's too wide of a line for our opener. So I see why money came in on CLD. Even I would have taken 2.6 so just on the value. 1.54, that's a bit of a steep line. You know, I think the line should probably be a bit tighter. You know, CLD solid, RoboCop's chin not 100% trustworthy, but I have a gut feeling about RoboCop, so I am going to pick him, but it's going to be a low confidence because of the chin. So, next fight we have here, we got Bobby Green versus Paddy the Baddy Pimblett. So, who should we start off with? This low-key could be a banger, you know, big fan of Paddy. You know, before I go into the skills and styles, like, I don't like Paddy's discipline for the game. Like, the videos he puts out of him, like, really, really eating, like, of course he had a tough training camp. I get it, like, you want to binge on a pizza and some Coca-Cola or something, right? But this guy, he takes it way, way, way too extreme, where he's going from 150 fight night to almost 100 kilos. I don't know what that is in pounds, but like I think that's almost like 200 pounds. That's not good for any professional fighter, because the whole camp is basically based on him losing the weight. He's not going to be able to develop his skills. It's just not good for his body. Like, I feel bad if I eat a Domino's pizza, you know what I mean? And this guy's scorched himself with sugar and stuff after fights, and I really, really do not like that. That's probably going to catch up to him out eventually. It might even catch up to him in this fight. But he's got a boxing style on the feet. He looks to swing aggressively. And he's not like a traditional boxer where you keep your guard up nice and throw jabs and crosses. He's more like aggressive and find openings. The one thing that stands out to me with his boxing is he does really, really leave his chin there on the open up and very, very high instead of like tucking it in. And he's definitely been clipped a few times. There's been some warning signs there, whether it's the Luigi fight or the Gordon fight. When it comes to his grappling, he's got like a BJJ style of grappling. He's a decent wrestler and grappler, But like when we compare his skills and grappling against like the highest level of guys in the division, like against like Armanta's rookie and Islam Makhachev, like those guys are like 20 levels above him, right? So, and he's not like the most like athletically gifted fighter, and as mentioned, poor eating habits and discipline. So I do think his ceiling is capped inside the UFC. So Green, on the other hand, you know, he's got a hands down low boxing style, good head movement, solid boxer, solid striker. When it comes to grappling, you know, his defensive grappling is solid, very good. You know, he's got okay offensive grappling as well. Like he was taking down Moises, for example, and his defensive grappling's being good, but he hasn't really faced a lot of strong wrestling styles in the past. He's mainly just been matched up with strikers, obviously for Islam Makhachev, but like, come on, if you're gonna get subbed by Islam, like I can't hold that against you, bruv. Like talking about one of the future GOATs, but yeah, I am worried about his age. He's almost 38. I am worried about his durability. Like you got dings against Jim Miller. That fight against Jalen, that was just absolutely brutal. But his chin did hold up against Miller, and his boxing skill and fundamentals are solid. On his 2 matchup prediction standpoint, I think Bobby is the better striker. I think he is the better boxer. Obviously, there are some X factors here, as mentioned, like Bobby's age, durability, career trajectories, fight being in England, Paddy being a fan favourite. Like, he won that decision against Sharon Gordon. I'm laughing because that was a bad one. So he could, if the fights, the problem I have with this fight is I think if the fight's even like kind of even remotely competitive, where there could even be like a slight argument made for Paddy, like he's more likely going to win a decision, right? Especially in England. This fight's on the main card, so the fans will be there screaming his name. That's probably going to, you know, have a psychological aspect on the crowd. He is the bigger name. He's got a big following on YouTube, Instagram. But I think Bobby has more skills. So this is one I'm being going back and forth with. If this was a fair and just world, I think I could pick Bobby much easier, just based on the skills, and I do think he's the much better boxer. I think his defensive grappling is good. So I'm kind of reluctantly picking Bobby Green here. Better boxer. I think he is the better, more well-rounded fighter. Don't want this to be a cop-out, but as mentioned, I am worried about his age. I am worried about his durability, right? So he could possibly come in looking completely washed. And if a fight's remotely close, like Bobby Green tends to fight quite close to his opponents, he could easily lose a decision in England. Easily could be a robbery as well, but I'm going to pick Bobby Green there. I spoke about that fight a lot. Let's look at that betting line. So I know a lot of money's been coming in on Paddy the Baddy, 1.95, like 2.60. Fight's likely going to go to decision. I get why a lot of people bet that line. And Paddy's been a very, very popular bet this week. I think money will keep coming in on Paddy. I don't know how much of a casual kind of money's betting this fight, like just recreational fans going to be betting this line, but I imagine most of the money is going to come in on Paddy. But personally, I'm going to pick Bobby Green to win this fight. But yeah, I had a lot to say about that fight. Very, very interesting, intriguing matchup. So we go to the co-main event of the evening. We got Curtis Razor Blades versus Tom Aspinall. Obviously, this is a rematch. This is for the interim heavyweight championship. And I do like both fighters. This is a rematch. Obviously, like normally, if this is a rematch, like in the main event, I'll talk a lot more about the first fight. But the first fight, you know, the fight was 15 seconds. I know a lot of people say Blades would kind of piece him up, but like to me, that's too short of a time to make a strong judgment on the matchup. Now, Aspinall, he is one of the most talented heavyweights I've ever seen. Like, he's a heavyweight that moves like a welterweight. Like, his speed, his technique, he's mainly got like a boxing attack. It's just so crisp and clean. The head movement is excellent. Just this guy moves like a welterweight for a heavyweight. Is incredible, and he's a good offensive grappler as well. High level grappler. Just his takedown entries and speed for his takedowns is excellent. And like the way he just took Volkov down like, with ease, choked him out. Was it a choke? I can't remember. He submitted. It was a submission, right? It was a, let's see, it was a arm lock. That was super. I'm super duper impressed with Aspinall as a whole, as potential. But I do have some concerns with him. Like, we haven't really seen him get tested as fights go into deep waters. And because he is a guy who's so explosive, powerful, fast twitch move muscle, he could potentially fade as the fight progresses. Like, it looked like he was starting to fade against Arlovski, but, you know, obviously sunk in a choke. Arlovski's not easy. Even like a lot of these new heavyweights, they struggle with Arlovski, right? And that's Arlovski like a couple of years ago. But yeah, I do have concerns about when fights go into the waters, how we haven't seen his defensive wrestling get tested. But like, from what I see, I think this guy's special. Blaze, on the other hand, this is a guy who I consider a elite level heavyweight as well. He's got a boxing style on the feet. He's not a bad striker by any means, but recently, like, he's just shown, like, before he would really just go straight for the takedowns and really wrestle his opponents, and he would be on Twitter saying, look, I don't care about entertaining the fans. I just want to win. I just want to take my opponents down, which is great. Like, stick to what you're good at, bro. But like, obviously his striking's good. He's not a bad boxer. But his strength definitely lies in the wrestling and the grappling. High-level wrestler, especially for heavyweight, right? Heavyweight's not really known for having like strong wrestlers. So yeah, I do like his wrestling. I definitely consider Blaze a elite level heavyweight. But I am gonna have to pick Tom Aspinall. I just believe in his upside and his potential and his skills as a whole too much. So, but obviously I do have some question marks about if the fight goes into deep waters. We don't really know too much about his defensive wrestling. Let's look at the betting line. So it's 1.29 for Aspinall, 3.85 for Blades. So Aspinall opened 1.48. I mean, 1.29 for such a potentially well-matched fight, right? If Aspinall just smokes him in 1 minute, then it'd be everyone was saying value, right? But I like Blades as a fighter. I think he's going to wrestle. So I do think that line's a little bit steep. I think some hype's being put into that line. Last time this fight was fought, I think Aspinall closed around 1.76, so it's much closer to like a pick'em line. I think the last time this fight was booked is predominantly a pick'em line for most of the week, and then Aspinall closed like a slight favourite at 1.70. So this to me is a little bit of a steep of a line, 1.29, but everyone's really super duper high on Aspinall, so I can see why people are betting him, especially maybe on some of the early lines like 1.48, you could justify the bet. But personally, at this current moment, 1.29, I'm probably going to stay away from that. I probably won't not be putting that into my parlays. I think there's more value on the Curtis Blaze line at 3.85. Like, how often do you see Curtis Blaze as a 3.85 underdog? He's always like a favourite, right? So yeah, I'm going to pick Aspinall, but I think there's more value on Curtis Blades. So we go to the main event of the evening. If you guys are getting value for the breakdowns, make sure to like, comment, share. Let me know what you guys are picking. Do you guys disagree with me on certain fights? And yeah, thank you very much for tuning in. Super duper appreciate it. And yeah, without further ado, let's get right into the breakdown. So, Leon Edwards, obviously this is a rematch. Now, well, I guess I'll talk about the first fight first. So in the first fight, Leon was dominating. He just looked he looked too fast. He looked too clean in there. Just looked much more athletic, and he was just kind of piecing Belal up. And then the eye poke happened. And yeah, you just looked a much better fighter. I was going to talk about the betting line, but I'll save that for the end. When we go to like Leon's skills, elite level fighter. I hold his skills, his resume is solid, very excellent striking fundamentals with both his hands and kicks, very crisp, clean technique, has very good precision. And he's also a very, very like risk adverse fighter. And he's also very, very underrated in a clinch. He's like able to land very, very nice elbows and knees on the break. So that's one thing I've always liked about Rocky throughout the years. I was like, this guy's clinch game is super duper underrated, and you can land some damaging elbows and knees in the clinch. He's a high level grappler as well, offensive side, and you know, his defensive grappling, like, it looks solid, but he has looked weak off his back, which I've noticed is quite a common trend with the UK fighters, that they look weak off their back. But against Colby, it did look like it improved. But overall, very, very high on the champ. Very, very good skills. I mean, backing Leon Edwards for years. Belal, on the other hand, he's also a underrated fighter in my opinion. Obviously, he's not like he's not like a fan favourite, but another guy that I've been betting throughout the years, getting decent prices on him. Very underrated fighter in my opinion, as mentioned. I'll repeat myself twice, but he's not like the most like athletically gifted fighter. So he's a guy who he uses his brain. I think he went to like law school. He got like a law degree. So he's a very, very intelligent person, and he often changes up his style depending on his opponents, and he likes to come up with good game plans and strategies depending on his opponent's style. He's a decent striker. He's definitely a pressure volume guy when it comes to his striking, and I like how he always mixes up his tempos and he'll switch stances too. Like against Brady, he knew, look, I need to push a pace on this guy, and then against Burns, he's a bit more chilled with his approach. But obviously his strong suit is definitely the grappling and wrestling. I like his grappling and wrestling, solid wrestling, grappling fundamentals. He's relentless with it, and he will consistently shoot. So I think what Belal's going to do here, I think Belal's game plan is obviously, like, I don't have like any insider information, but I think what Belal's going to do is, I think he's going to come forwards. I think he's going to be relentless, and I think he's going to consistently shoot for 25 minutes. I think that's what his game plan is going to be. So prediction standpoint, I'm going to have to pick Rocky here again. I respect Belal more than most people probably do, and I've been betting on him for years, but I just think Leon's faster, sharper, cleaner, more athletic, better striker. He was dominating the first fight, right? And this fight's in England as well. So I think there's a lot of advantages for Leon. So I'm going to have to pick him. Say like low to medium level confidence. Now let's look at that betting line. So I think some money's been coming in on Leon. Yeah, 1.39 now, 3.15. I think Belal's going to be a very, very popular underdog this week. But yeah, I respect the Leon action that came in on him. I think 1.50. I think that was a decent price. Obviously, Belal could come forwards, push a relentless pace, put a relentless pressure. You could possibly win this fight, but I think he's the more likely winner in this matchup. So yeah, cool. And also, like in the first fight, right, he closed 1.38, so around 1.50. And we saw in the first fight, obviously a lot can change throughout the years, right? But in the first fight, he was dominating. He closed 1.38. That's what the market concluded him as. So at 1.50, just from a market perspective, there probably was a little bit of value on Leon, just from a market perspective. But yeah, cool. I think that's the end of the breakdowns. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure to like, comment, share, sub. Also, I'll quickly go through the fights again at the end. So cool. Prachnio, Bukauskas. I'm going to go with Bukauskas, but probably not one I'm looking to target from a betting perspective. I think Prachnio can make it close. Shauna Bannon versus Alice. I think the line's wide, low level women's MMA fight, but I'm going to pick Shauna, but no bet there for me. Patterson versus Crosbie. Could be, I think the skills are too much for Patterson, but Crosbie could chid him, but I'm going to pick Patterson. Oban, Elliott versus Preston, Parsons. I'm going to go with Parsons. I think the relentlessness might be too much, but Oban definitely has potential early upside. But I'm going to go with Parsons. Brzeski versus Parkin. I think Parkin is the more likely winner in this fight. Loughran versus Hadley. Very, very well-matched fight. I think everyone's kind of writing off Hadley. I think he can make this fight very competitive and could possibly win, but I'm going to go with Loughran. Molly McCann versus Bruna Brasil. I'm going to have to go with a fan favourite here, Molly McCann. Nathaniel Wood versus Daniel Pineda. I am worried about Wood's durability, but I do think he's the more likely winner slash guy to win this fight. So I'm going to have to go with Wood, but I think it is a steep line. Mackay versus Kate. Best fight of the card, in my opinion. Very well matched fight. Kate's a very guy that I'm very, very big on, and I think he is more talented and potentially more skilled, especially when it comes to striking. But I think this might be a tough matchup for him, with him facing a wrestler. Allen versus Giga Chikadze. Another sick fight. Giga Chikadze, great kickboxer. Allen, very, very solid boxing. Can mix up his grappling, but I'm going to have to go with Allen to grind out a competitive decision. From a betting perspective, I don't really love the odds on Allen at 1.42. Robocop versus Christian Leroy Duncan. CLD, solid striker, creative striker. Like him a lot. Robocop, explosive, powerful, aggressive boxing style. And he has a BJJ black belt and can mix up some grappling, but he could potentially just stand and bang, which concerns me with his chin. But you know what, I'm going to go against the grain, and I'm going to go with Gregory Rodriguez. Bobby Green versus Paddy Pimblett. Fights in England, could go to the scorecards easily, and you know, biased judging could give Paddy the win. So I don't feel mega confident about it. And Bobby Green's age and his durability, and he can often fight close, which concerns me. But I'm going to go with Bobby Green there. Tom Aspinall versus Blades. I'm going to go with Aspinall, but I think there's more value on Blades. Leon versus Belal. I respect Belal. I think he's very, very solid, but I'm going to have to go with a champ here to retain the belt. So, boom. That's the end of it. Thank you once again. Good luck this weekend. And yeah, good luck with your bets. Good bankroll management, risk management, all that cliche stuff.